just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think the one thing that AI has introduced is it's gotten rid of the barrier of entry of trying new things. And so people are trying everything.
Anyone can build anything now. It doesn't mean that it's going to be good. And like, this is what I was getting at before, is people can try a million different things right now. If you're trying a million different things and you never actually take the time to know what worked, you just have a million different things that you're working on. You're keeping yourself busy. You're not trying to be effective.
Honest Ecommerce is a weekly podcast where we interview direct-to-consumer brand founders and leaders to find out what it takes to start, grow, and scale an online business today. Hey everybody, welcome back to another bonus episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today, I'm welcoming to the show Alex from Intelligems. Alex, what is your title now over there?
Head of marketing. I'm also glad that you didn't attempt the last name because it always gets butchered.
Yeah, I've got some skill in this podcasting game. Been doing it for almost a decade now, so I can know when a word is going to defeat me when I try to read it.
Love it. Yeah, head of marketing over here at Intelligems. Excited to jam, man. Feel like you and I always have great conversations. So excited to see what comes out of this.
Absolutely. So first things first, Intelligems is a huge partner of ours over at Electric Eye. This is not a sponsored episode by any means, but we use the product a lot. I'm going to be heavily in favor of everything that they're doing over there. But if you want to speak offline about my direct opinion of the product, it's probably not going to change much from what you're hearing vocally here. They sponsored a lot of our product, a lot of our podcasts in the past, a lot of our events, all that jazz. But this particular conversation is actually just us chatting. I was lucky enough to join Alex a few weeks ago on their podcast called Intelligems. Very, very great title for that. Now you can find it on YouTube, and it's also where normal podcast stuff is.
Go look for it wherever you get your podcasts, but the best experience is always on YouTube for that one.
Absolutely. And we're also, this is going out on YouTube and we're finding some success with that. And Alex and I actually chat about, the YouTube algorithm and just podcasting in general, so we can both try to just make awesome content for the community out there. So Alex is a great guy. Intelligems is a great product. Enough with saying nice things. Let's get into it. Today, if you couldn't guess, the overarching conversation is going to be about conversion rate optimization. And something that came up in our jam a few weeks ago that you really loved was the concept that conversion rate optimization is terribly named.
Yes. I think that I said to Chase right after we were talking about it, I'm like, we could put together a full episode on this. And that's what I'm hoping that we can potentially do today. But yeah, CRO, I mean, you and I have been in the space for a while. It's been the name for a decade in the Shopify ecosystem and the commerce ecosystem. And I think it's time that we renamed it. I have some ideas on what we rename it to, but I'd love to go through kind of like what your thoughts are on CRO, the name, why it's not the right name. I just feel like it sells everything we do so short, and I'm getting sick of it and it needs a new name.
Yeah, it hits really close to home because we're redesigning our website right now, and the industry, and by industry, I mean the customer. So at the end of the day, it'd be the brands that work with our agency. They call it conversion rate optimization. They're typing in Google and into Chat GPT or Claude conversion rate optimization. But maybe it's because we know too much. We're like, that's not actually, that's like one piece of what we're doing. And so let's see if you can remember, kind of how I explained it back on your episode on the Intelligems. But like, what does a conversion, like what did a conversion mean historically? It kind of led into why this is named wrong.
Yeah, I think from what I remember, you were saying it came from like computer programming at some point, or maybe, but like conversion just being like the generalized term for action was taken. But in our industry, conversion has been changed to purchase has happened. I think.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So, whenever computers and the internet started, this, I don't know if it's pre-internet or not, but I'm assuming this was also something that would happen in like just software. But basically, back in the day, a conversion was just like the user doing whatever the heck you wanted them to do. So it'd be like clicking a button or submitting a form, viewing a page, right? So, actually a more modern example to like think about this is like with advertising, you can bid on, a click, you can bid on a page view, you can bid on a form submit, you can bid on an actual purchase of your product, right? All of those kind of things that you're bidding on and it's optimizing towards, all of those are conversion events in the grand scheme of things. So when you generalize just saying, conversion rate optimization, people are only thinking about one particular thing of it being buying the product, is a little bit, it's leaving a lot of extra activity out there that, specialists like us are taking care of. Products like yours are optimizing towards. It's hilarious knowing what I know about your product that, you weren't optimizing towards conversions at one point. Even at the start of the product, it wasn't optimizing towards conversions at all.
Yeah. And I mean, this is one of the reasons that I don't love the name is because like conversion rate optimization in D2C means something very specific. And like in our industry, it means optimize for more purchase conversions. And I don't like the term because when you think about conversion rate optimization, it's like right there in the name, like just the conversion isn't actually meaning you're getting a more successful outcome for your business. Like my favorite straw man argument is like you want your conversion to go up, drop your prices to zero. You're going to have a great conversion on those ads coming in, but it's not going to be good for your business. So I think like it's limiting and like it's too narrowly focused, but I think it also needs to be broadened to include the ultimate goal for a brand, for a business, which is like not just to get the most conversions I can possibly get. Everyone's going to have their own definition of what success is, but like it's all going to be more or less centered around growth of the business. And I think like a lot more often than not now focused around profitable growth. Can I better my margins? Can I make sure that like I'm doing this in a foundationally sound way more than kind of like growth at all costs?
Yeah. And something that we do kind of early on in the sales process is like, we ask a question and it's not to be a gotcha question. It's to like understand where this potential client is in their kind of understanding of what CRO is, what conversion rate optimization is we go, hey, like, if we increase your profit, but your conversion rate actually goes down, is that a good outcome? And they always have to think about it, and we'll ask it in multiple ways, right? It's like, hey, like if your average order value goes up, but your conversion rate goes down a little bit, but overall your sales have increased, is that a win? Or is it purely you need to see the conversion rate go up for you to consider this a successful partnership, right? And, these aren't gotcha moments. It's just like trying to point out that like, this is just one lever in, a dozen or so important KPIs that you can probably optimize towards, but way less than that, actually. We only care about 3 at the end of the day at Electric Eye. But, it's just like it's like have these honest conversations up front, set proper expectations up front, and also just the perceived actions of what conversion rate optimization is hilarious to me. I think we should get into that in a little bit. But what are your thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, when you said like, hey, we optimize the 3 things, like those gotcha moments, I think they're not gotcha moments. It's just, there's going to be people at a brand that all are optimizing for different things. If I am on the ad side, I might want, like I'm optimizing for traffic to the site, but I also want to make sure that traffic to the site is valuable to me. So like, hey, I'm going to maybe be more focused on like actual conversion as we were talking about at the beginning. Like, does the ad lead to a sale through this funnel or through this channel? Then there might be someone who's like the direct to consumer manager who's more responsible for the site. And they might be like, I really care about AOV. It's my responsibility if people are going to be sending me all this traffic to make sure that I'm getting the most out of it. But then there's going to be like a founder or a CMO or like a VP finance or someone who's like, it's my responsibility to look at the P&L of this business. And like all of these people care about like at the highest level, the same thing, even though they are all going to like micro optimize in different areas. And like, hey, if I try to micro optimize on one thing, you alluded to it, something goes up, something else goes down, something else goes up. Like very rarely do you run a test or an experiment where only the metric you were trying to isolate moves. everything you do in terms of changes for your site is going to be some form of trade-off. And I love that you're asking those questions at the beginning to get an understanding of like, what is an acceptable trade-off? What do you actually care about? Because I bet you it's not just raw conversion.
Most of the time you will get people to admit out loud that it isn't like conversion's just the thing they're fixated on. They truly just want a more profitable business and a more optimized, let's call it a funnel for lack of a better term, but we could probably have a whole conversation about that. They want to improve their business, and they know that their specialty lies in they created a product that solves a problem and it seems the consumers want it. They now are doing the smart thing of hiring experts that are good at looking at the data, looking at the surveys, looking at the analytics to make informed hypotheses for us to test with. I'll put an aside there about that. And they're smart to hire people like us or, many of the other dozens and dozens of clients that, not clients, but partners that you partner with over there. And why partners, I mean like other agencies. We're not the only people doing this in the world. I'm not, but I will say we're the coolest. I don't know.
Yeah. And like, I think the other thing too is like, even for us, like you on the agency side or like us on the software side and like people, there's some brands who are going to have people with like CRO in their title. Like when you work with big enough brands, someone might have like a CRO specialist title, or like they might be like,
when I see that sometimes is it conversion rate optimization or is it chief revenue officer?
Yes. I'm talking about the conversion rate optimized. Usually the CRO doesn't have if they're a chief revenue officer, doesn't have specialist at the end.
Yeah.
They're usually just the CRO. But I've been having like a ton of conversations with people at some of these like larger brands that aren't necessarily on Shopify, might not even be like in commerce. And there's this kind of like sentiment right now that CRO is being put into this box and that like, it's truly just about like UX changes and trying to find like small optimizations and like, it's my job to kind of like stack these smaller changes on top of each other and try to find like a 2% here or a 5% there. And a lot of people are getting like frustrated by this. It's like, the walls are kind of coming in around me, but I actually feel more of like I'm a product person or I'm like a product manager where like I own something and it's my job to get the best result out of the thing that I'm managing. And I'm like, that's interesting to me that like CRO is trying to like break away from these stigmas that exist from the past and trying to operate more like a product manager or like a growth engineer. But like trying to shed this, Chase, you do CRO and therefore you must do a lot of like just button color changes and headline changes. And like you just move the UX, like you move a button here, you move this here, and that will like completely change your business. Yeah, those things can stack on top of each other, but you also need to try to find like bigger, meatier things to go experiment with, to go test with. And I feel like CRO people, meaning conversion rate optimization people, are struggling with that right now.
Hey, everybody, just a quick reminder. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't. We're releasing interviews like this every week, so don't miss out. Now back to the interview. I do want to talk about testing because you brought it up and I alluded to it earlier. To burst the bubble of startups, you need a lot of velocity to actually do testing. Where we draw the line isn't even where the Intelligems product documentation draws the line. We're definitely a little bit more conservative. But when we're in conversations in the sales cycle with folks, we're like, are you doing 1,000 conversions? AKA, are your customers buying 1,000 orders a week? We want a week. And the reason being, when you are to the point where you're doing testing, you need this thing called statistical significance. And that can happen in a vacuum over any sort of timeline. But when you're in the world, things change weekly, maybe even faster. But, you can't have politics or Facebook's algorithm. You can't have seasonality. You can't have sales change within the timeline of you running a test. So just if you're thinking about getting into conversion rate optimization, you need to make sure that you're selling enough stuff in a quick enough kind of velocity. Or you can't do testing. You can still do optimization And again, it's badly named. One, why did conversion rate optimization just get lumped in with split testing? They're now like amalgamized together. You can still optimize your store without running split tests if you're too young to do so. And you can still get a bunch of data through other apps in the ecosystem or just other ways to then make informed decisions to make your store better. You just can't test it.
I like that you use the term informed decisions there, because that's something that I actually talk about a lot. And like other people at Intelligems might listen to what I'm about to say and be like, Alex, don't say that. Don't say that. And it's that like, yes, you need to be moving towards statistical significance. Like if you're going to be running a test, and like a lot of people think that to get to stat sig, you just need more data. You need like more swings at the thing. That's true. The more data you have, the faster you're going to get to statistical significance. But it's also a measure of like how drastic the change is. So if you're changing a button color, you're going to have to wait forever to try to figure out if that's stat sig or not. But like if you increase your prices by 20%, you're going to see that mellow out faster and like give you like a more accurate read because the change is so drastic. So like I like the informed decision angle there, because like one thing I always find myself saying all the time is like ask important questions and validate important decisions. And like you can go put yourself in a position where you feel more confident making a decision or having an answer to a question, even if it's not necessarily stat sig on a very specific thing. You just feel like you're making a more informed decision than you were before because you have more information. You've done it with more rigor than like, I mean, most of the changes that happen in our world is like, I made the change and I think it worked.
Yeah. I want to talk about button color because it comes up a lot. Nobody listening to this podcast, nobody in my network, nobody in your network, which is definitely you guys, a lot of larger brands use that product. Button color won't do anything, right? Button color affects Instagram with 1,000 actions happening a second. It isn't something that's happening for conversion rate, like at even $100 million brand. I would love for someone to check me on this and be like, you know what, it actually does at $100 million, but for a $1 million, a $5 million, a $10 million.
Yeah, someone fight us on it.
For a $10 million brand, button color, unless your button color was like breaking the site, if it was just, oh, we're going to test red versus this other color of red, no, it's not gonna have any really effect on it. What will one of my first coaches in teaching us CRO, one of the first things he said is like test more, test bigger things, do complete layout changes, test those against each other. That's going to give you a better result than some micro changing one word on a product, maybe one word in a headline. Okay, that if that's the first thing that I'm reading, that might be a significant test. But one word in the product description, I don't think that's going to do it. Test one product page versus another product page. Test if you're getting to the point where you're sending cold traffic, not cold, but I guess paid traffic from Meta to landing pages, maybe try one landing page format versus another landing page format. Here's side quest here, I guess, Claude or whatever your favorite AI will straight up just give you a layout for your landing page based upon these formats. Just ask him what are some of the popular landing page formats, and then be like, well, here's my product. Give me all those, give me landing page designs for all these. Don't use its design though. It's so bad at design. Don't tell them to design it. Just tell them to lay it out like structure wise with placeholder copy. Then you and your copywriter make it better and then give it to a real designer. And then, you can develop it yourself. I am unaffiliated with Ryan over at PageDeck, but we have been playing with PageDeck with one of our clients right now. Not a big fan of what you see is what you get page editors, but it is kind of working and all the data is there. So I'm not super mad at it right now, but I don't know. I'm done with my tangential side quest here.
My kind of like read on most things is like my thoughts on like AI inside of experimentation is it has become so easy to build on your own. Don't use Claude to design your stuff, but like there are tools out there that help you get to a point where like maybe you could port something into a Shopify template and like see how it goes. And I think like the build component of AI is kind of like giving everyone the ability to change whatever they want, whenever they want. And like you and I in our world is like, okay, but I also need AI to like help me figure out what is actually worth doing so that I don't just like change a bunch of stuff constantly and just like constantly build to be productive. And then I want like AI on the other side of this too, to be like, I made this change. What's going on? Not just like, hey, like this one metric that changed, but like, give me a read of what's happening in the business by doing these bigger things. And like, also when you're talking about like try bigger things, like you can even think bigger than some of the stuff we were talking about there. Like, what if I have live chat support on the site? Can I experiment with having live chat support on and off? If I already offer live chat support, can I experiment with like having the AI bot take over versus live chat? What does that do to revenue per session? If I am thinking about introducing like a new flavor or scent, can I do like a limited run and introduce that? Because like I might think that that's going to be incremental to my business and like introducing this flavor or scent is going to get me more dollars. But maybe it just moves people to that scent from other scents. And like, I just have more products in my portfolio, more overhead costs of creating all this, but it doesn't actually lead to more profitability. So like, when I say like, oh, CRO is flawed, it's because like, I want people to think about like all these like higher level things that you could be experimenting with so that it's not just like, oh, it's CRO or it's testing. It's like a term I've been throwing around is like growth experimentation. It's like, you have ideas, you have hypotheses around what could change your business, what the limiting factors are, like where you could go explore more growth. Go try some of those bigger things. And I'm not saying don't do the small stuff. Like I think you should always be trying to optimize. Like you can always find dollars in the optimizations. Do both.
Yeah. And obviously earlier I mentioned like, we're redesigning our website right now, and the headline copy on it is we're definitely leaning more into our optimization chops and, agency versus studio versus another one word kind of, description, agency won out. So, we're going with Shopify Premier Optimization Agency is probably going to be the big flagship headline on the website once it goes live. So we couldn't get too far away from kind of conversion rate optimization. We're still using that word, but I mean, right underneath it, we're going to have to list it. So Google likes us. So Claude pulls us up. So ChatGPT finds us in that LLM. But the one thing I kind of want to end on here, because we are talking about AI a little bit now here at the end, is AI is stupid, and I can prove it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think the one thing that AI has introduced is it's gotten rid of the barrier of entry of trying new things. And so people are trying everything. And an old analogy that I've been using for years is, if everything's important, nothing is important. So you still need to slow down before you can speed up. You still need to have strategy, and AI at a surface can understand strategy. I'm not worried about our jobs. I'm not worried about anyone that's good at their jobs being replaced by AI. AI in the tool of someone that understands what they're doing makes them infinitely more capable. But AI in the tool in the hands of a layman just creates mediocre, if not terrible, results. Right. So that's the end of my rant on AI.
Yeah, like anyone can build anything now. It doesn't mean that it's going to be good. And like, this is what I was getting at before, is people can try a million different things right now. If you're trying a million different things and you never actually take the time to know what worked, you just have a million different things that you're working on. You're keeping yourself busy. You're not trying to be effective. We said at the beginning of this, like if the goal is I'm in pursuit of more profitable growth, did doing 16 to 260 different things get me closer to that goal? Maybe I don't even know, because I'm just making these changes. I'm not actually able to measure what's going on and like tell myself confidently it was a good decision. It was just 260 decisions that kept me busy.
Yeah. I think, a bad analogy, but one I'm going to be working on is like, I have a hammer, I have nails, I can go get some wood. Alex, I can build you a house, man. You think it's going to be a good house?
Hell no. Actually, I don't know your capabilities as a carpenter or a craftsman, but I'm assuming no.
I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be good. No power of Claude or YouTube is going to offset the amount of time and skills it takes to actually learn the nuances of building a house and all the intricacies of every subsystem within building a house. So obviously that sounded dumb, but that's what people are doing when they're saying that AI can build them a successful business. It's like, no, it can't, but it can help you along the way.
Yeah, man. Last thing I'll say on this is like, it's basically the Dunning-Kruger, right? Like AI is making people think they're better at something, but like you get to a point, even a layman using AI gets to a point where it's like, oh shit, I don't know what I don't know. But it accelerated the crap out of me getting to that high point.
Absolutely. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the show today. If people want to hear you talk more, AKA check out your podcast, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, best place to find it. Go to YouTube, search Intelligems, Jams. If you want more of me, you can find me on Twitter at AlexMCEA, or just search AlexMCEA on LinkedIn as well, and you'll find me.
Perfect. We'll link to that stuff in the show notes. Go check out Intelligems if you're doing over 1,000 orders a week and you want to actually have a cool product help you with split testing. Obviously, I'm going to plug my agency. If you need someone to help you do the split testing, come up with the ideas, build a system that builds you an actual research-backed roadmap of what to test. That's what we're doing for dozens of brands all the time. Reach out to, us, electriceye.io. Alex, thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.